Dr. J once again welcoming you to Prenatal Parenting. In this video and the next video, I'm going to be addressing two important questions that I'm frequently asked in my seminars and in my presentations. So in this video, we'll deal with the first question, and the second question I'll address in the next video. Now the question that comes up, and it's a very genuine question when people stand up and ask me that, have you tested this prenatal communicator, and how do you know that it works? Well, let me just tell you first that prenatal parenting is not just a style of parenting, it's a philosophy. And this philosophy is based on two main pillars or two main hallmarks of perfect and good and intelligent childbearing. And it's number one, it's talking and loving to the baby. And number two, providing a very comfortable, safe, and a happy environment for the baby while in the womb. Now, talking, of course, is through words. You speak to the baby and you communicate to the baby. Love comes through feelings and emotions, the kind of feelings and emotions you have towards the baby while the baby is nurturing inside your womb. And by the way, all people who deal with parenting and childbearing and child rearing will agree to this, that yes, these are the two important aspects of good child nurturing. And there's no rocket science involved in it. I mean, from time immemorial, since people have started, women have started to have babies, this has been the concept. And even in certain cultures, even now around the world, that as soon as a girl gets pregnant, the relatives and the neighbors and everybody gathers together, tries to take care of the girl, keep her happy, make sure she eats well, she sleeps well, rests well. And in many cultures in the evening, traditionally, they gather around outside after dinner and they form a circle, and then the woman sits there and they're clapping and enjoying and singing and just being happy and merry. Now, this is, what is this? This is actually starting the process of communication between the baby in the womb with the outside world. The happiness, the chanting, the music, the clapping. So all of it is actually establishing a communication. Now, since I started doing clinical pediatrics in 1975, every time I see a pregnant girl, and since all those years, I've been giving this message to all these pregnant young girls. Now, obviously, over a period of time, as I said in my other videos, that there's been a major paradigm shift in the approach towards nurturing and what the brain can do and cannot do and what happens in the brain in the womb. So there has been a major change as far as that's concerned, but the basic concept of child rearing has been the same. And I mean, surprisingly, I was going through my book, which I mentioned earlier, The Infant Stimuli, and the first 30 pages I have actually dedicated to prenatal parenting. And at that time when I was doing this, I did not know that I would be working with prenatal parenting too. And in this, again, we had outlined, how to communicate with a baby. And of course, we told in the book that the mother should sit down in a nice, quiet place, place their hand on the belly, and speak to the baby in a loving tone with a lot of emotion in their words and their voice. When the father comes home, he should sit down nicely and quietly with the mother, place his hands on the tummy of his wife and speak to the baby, have a conversation, create bonding between the baby and themselves. We used to tell them that get an ordinary tape deck, play tapes of music, classical music, Mozart, Beethoven, and so on and so forth. Now, that concept is still the same today, but now things have changed in terms of more advanced knowledge that we have from neuroscience. Like, for example, in those days, we didn't have MP3 players. We didn't have these headphones, these fancy headphones. Yes, of course, sometimes women used to get this big size headphones, put it on the belly and plug it into the recorder and let the music play and so on and so forth. Yes, we encouraged that and we told them to do that. But now, since we have new technology, since now we have these MP3 players, since now we have refined headphones, it makes the ball game totally different. Now, with time, we have also learned that a particular kind of music helps to enhance the growth of the brain and the neural connections much more. And my first interaction with this was actually in late 1970s when I was reading about speed reading and then flash reading and so on. And in that there was a very good book that I had read, and they were playing music in the background at a certain beat, and people were studying, and they were able to absorb the information and gather the information much faster and much better. And since then, of course, it has all evolved. So now we know that, what kind of music to play to the baby, what beats to play to the baby, what music to play when. Yes, with all this knowledge put together, it's become different and so on. Now, this question has two parts. Number one, is the prenatal communicator safe to use? And number two, are we subjecting the baby to information overload with all these numbers and digits and sounds and music and nursery? Are we providing the baby with too much? Now, let me just tell you a little fact over here. The baby's developing brain in the womb at any point in time is exposed to about 5,000 words that are spoken by the mother in an average 24-hour period. So 5,000 words from the mother, plus words coming from the sibling, from the father, from other family members, from people at work, from other sources in the outside world. So at the end of the day, the baby is probably exposed to tens of thousands of words. And what we offer in the prenatal communicator is minuscule as compared to the amount of noise and the amount of words that the baby is exposed to anyway. And the other important thing is that the prenatal communicator offers you quality rather than quantity. All those things that are there in the prenatal communicator have been very carefully selected, very carefully chosen, very carefully put together for the developing brain of the baby. Now, sometimes people think, okay, now when I put the prenatal communicator on, when I put the bell that I start, am I going to disturb the baby? Well, you've got to remember that the baby's brain is a very vibrant organ. It is working 24/7, processing millions and billions of bits of information per second. Of course, there are times during this 24-hour period when the baby is resting, and the mother knows the baby doesn't kick that much, the baby is resting, the baby is more quiet. But other than that, by and large, the baby is very receptive. Now, apart from the other sounds that we talk about, there are certain sounds that are there all the time. Say, for example, the sound of the mother's heartbeat. It is there all the time, 24 hours. And if you were to hear actually the intensity of the sound that the heart transmits from the mother to the baby, you'll be surprised how loud it is. The second loud sound comes from the blood gushing up and down the aorta, the major vessels. It makes a lot of gushing sound. The sounds coming from the intestinal tract, all the gurglings and all the other sounds that come from the intestinal tract, they are loud. So the baby is being exposed to sound, and quite a bit of sound anyway. Now, is the sound coming out of these two headphones placed to the abdomen, is it too loud for the baby? No. There are other sounds that are even much louder. The sound of an airplane go by, the sound of a honk of a car, the sound from television, the sound from a teller machine. These are sharp sounds that are much louder than what the baby is receiving through the prenatal communicator. And the other thing you need to appreciate is that I'm not advocating that one puts on this belt and the prenatal communicator and roams around with it 24/7 or 24 hours of the day. No way. About 4 to 5 hours of quality exposure is more than enough. Say maybe about hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning, hour and a half to 2 hours in the evening, total about 4 to 5 hours. I think that's an ideal time. There's an ideal amount of sound and words and the music that the baby should be exposed to. The question of safety, of course it's safe. We have tried and tested this product over the last 4 years, and we have seen some incredible results with this product. I'm propagating a philosophy, and I'm taking total responsibility of what I'm doing and what I'm offering. And it's been tried and tested over a period of time. So as far as the question of safety and overload is concerned, I think I've probably answered that quite well for you. And again, as I said, we are talking of brain that is processing information at millions of bits per second. So we are only talking of quality versus quantity. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one soon. Thank you.